We're live.
Woohoo!
And now we wait for YouTube to catch up.
Every time.
Yeah, this delay is always weird. I don't know if anyone's cracked live streaming yet, you know? Like, and now we wait for YouTube to catch up. Did you all hear myself talking? Just
Oh yeah, me too.
YouTube caught up.
Hilarious. Well, that means we're live, so I'm going to send the email and let everyone know to join us. And hello to people who joined us already.
So good. This Slack, I'm not really familiar with Slack. Does it have like a push notification situation or?
We send it, you can send it at channel message.
Ooh.
Do you want to handle that, Fem?
I know, so fancy. Yes, I've done it. So welcome if you've joined. We're just giving everyone a minute or so to join us here. If you can hear and see us, tell us in the YouTube chat that we're all good, because it would suck if we did this whole thing and there was no audio.
Yes, that would be not good at all.
You know, if you can hear us, tell us.
That happened to me for my first live stream I did on my YouTube channel, you know. I tried to switch microphone partway through. No. And when I switched microphone, I didn't switch in the Google Hangout settings, and so no one could hear me for a while. And then people were like, it's muted, but because it's delayed, yeah, it was super awkward.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a disaster.
That's a really uncomfortable moment.
Yeah, exactly. What should we talk about before people join and we introduce Cory? How's the weather where you are, people?
Cold.
Yeah.
Cold. Well, actually, you know what? It's actually warm today. It's a balmy 3 degrees. So,
nice. I think it's something similar. Actually, you know what? It's 8 degrees here in London, so I got nothing to complain about.
Yeah, it's quite the difference from the -4 last week. So
you'll be able to convert that to Fahrenheit, right, Cory, for all of our international?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you double it and add 30.
Oh.
So if it's -4, you double it, -8, add 30. That's 20. I couldn't even do it. 20.
What?
22.
Like that. 22. Double it and add. Yeah.
So
a rough
formula.
Roughly.
Nice. I'm going to try and remember.
It only really works between 0 and 100 Celsius, but it kind of works. And you have to be like, it's ish, right? So you go, you know, if it's 3 degrees Fahrenheit, you double it and add 30. So it's about, or I'm sorry, Celsius. So you double it and add 30. So it's about 36-ish.
3 degrees Fahrenheit would be really cold.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's not going to happen. Don't do this.
Okay. Shall we get on to, there we go. Aaron says that's really handy to know. Should we get on to the actual topic now?
It kind of works in kilograms too. Just a little bit there, Aaron. Just a bit.
See, guys, look, Cory is full of value, full of information. Great live stream.
No, I'm full of shortcuts because I'm lazy.
That's not a good first thing for people to know about you. Let's introduce you properly. Everyone, welcome to our good friend, Mr. Cory Miller. Cory is the Director of Member Success. Have I got that right?
That's right.
At Sean Wes, which is how do you describe Sean Wes these days? Podcast network, community, business courses, all the things.
You know, Sean was recently at a conference in Las Vegas that Grant Cardone puts on, and he had bought these tickets, you know, for people watching. That's technically my boss, but we kind of just like work together, so it's weird to call him my boss. But anyways, he went there and people, and it's always that question, right? It's so what do you do kind of a thing. And people are kind of like half listening. They don't even care. And so our company is primarily a membership. So it's, you know, it's a podcast network. It's, you know, we have masterclass courses, on pricing for client work, on copywriting and, you know, making a successful podcast, which Aaron Dowd, he's watching right now, he created, which is awesome. So we've got master classes, we've got mini courses, and then we have learning paths and workshops that we've done that are all available within the membership. So that's kind of like the primary thing that we do, is helping entrepreneurs, especially kind of small business owners and people who are, you know, trying to make a living with their passion. And primarily trying to do it by building an online audience. We come in and we help them kind of push past those early stages and build their business successfully. So, and there's a community aspect to that. We have a custom built software that we use, and so that's kind of I managed that, but it's really, there's a lot more that I do. There's only a few of us at the company, so I wear a lot of hats. But all of that to say, there's no good elevator pitch for Sean West, which has its ups and downs that we have always been like, what is it? So it's like, I like to say, like, to my family, because my family always asks, like, I don't know how to explain to people what you do. Just say, we're like an online learning resource for budding entrepreneurs and people who want to make a living online.
You know what? That was a pretty good elevator pitch.
Yeah,
so
you got it right there.
That's great.
You could get into all of this stuff, but like, then you say, well, what's Apple? And you're like, oh. It's a tech company. You know?
That's great. Okay, cool. Well, Cory's here today to share basically some advice and some of his knowledge, wisdom on a bunch of different topics that we put in the email, and we've had some questions through from people in the community too, which is really cool. Let's start, Cory, with your main projects. Like, so that's what you do as your day job, but like us and many other people in our community, you are a serial side projector and have other things going on the side. Now you got a podcast, you got a vlog, and you're building a website. Do you want to give us a quick rundown of those?
You keep saying quick. Well, the main side project that I'm working on right now is called Vlogology, at vlogology.com. And what that's meant to be, so I started a vlog back in 2016, early 2016, just to kind of try it out. Like, it was kind of this thing that was happening and people were doing it on YouTube. And I wanted to get more familiar with making videos. I'd had a previous experience in doing that for churches and conferences and things like that, of doing of making and producing video. Sorry. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll just kind of do this. I was trying to build up my personal brand. I just started a podcast, and I was like, I wanted to build more trust with the people who followed me. And video is like the top way to do that. It just is, other than like being in person. You know, if you want to build trust with somebody, the face-to-face, like, there, you can't beat that. And so I started this vlog, and initially did a daily vlog, and started really, really simple. Just used the front-facing camera on my phone. It was 720p in all of its glory. And eventually switched to weekly after doing it for a couple of months daily, and realizing that I just could not keep up with that and have sanity. And so just started doing that, and I've been doing that ever since, on a weekly basis. And so one of the things that I've found and have gotten a lot of emails about and a lot of comments are people like, hey, I want to kind of learn to do this, and I want to learn to have my own vlog, but I'm not sure where to get started, and I get really nervous about all the gear. And most of the vloggers that I follow, they might do like a one-off, here's how to vlog, right? There's a guy that I follow, Peter McKinnon. He's exploded on YouTube in the last year. And he did I think it was like a how to vlog video. And it was like 16 minutes long, if I'm remembering correctly. And it wasn't very comprehensive. And it was a lot of, like, it was really, really good. But for people who are wanting to just kind of like get into it, they see people walking around. Like my camera, this is the camera that I use. So this fancy. This is something that I've upgraded to. I initially started with my phone.
It looks like serious vlogging material. Like walking down the street with that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that guy must be like a professional vlogger or something.
Yeah. And so, but that's kind of the problem is, and it's the same sort of thing with, if you've been in the design world for 20, 25 years and someone asks you how to get into the design world, it's like, it's going to be harder to remember those early steps and give advice for people in those early steps the further you are away from it. And so what I found was a lot of people talking about it would be like, hey, here's a really good camera that you could get. And people they don't really look at that. They look at what vloggers are actually using. And so suddenly you've got a little bit of a barrier with the gear. All of the vloggers, all of the famous ones, they have really good editing and maybe color grading and like all of this stuff. And just getting started, like getting past those mental barriers at the very beginning is really difficult for some people, as I had conversations with them. And so I wanted to produce some kind of content, make some kind of something that helped people on a regular basis break past the mental roadblocks to just getting started. And so at vlogology.com right now, it's primarily an email. It's basically an email newsletter, but it's an autoresponder sequence right now. So if you sign up, you start getting all of the emails. It's not like a broadcast or anything like that.
So it's basically like a course.
Yeah, but it's less like here's how to do it and more of like the initial things, and that'll go in tandem with the content that I'm making for the website. So that's like my big side project right now. I want it to be a free resource and have other means of monetization if I decide to do it that way. I think people have. And maybe this is just in my sphere, maybe I'm too close to it, but there's a lot of courses that are a lot of like, oh, here's another thing I have to buy, you know?
I feel you.
And so I wanted to make a thing where I could be like, hey, you know what? You need to like, let me teach you about this thing. I've got this page on it. Go read it. You can just like binge through all of the content if you want. And then have other means to do that. Other means for people to support it if they want to. But that's kind of like my big side project right now. I find the more that I go, the further deadlines start slipping, and that's been kind of tough because not only do I work for Sean West, but I also have this other thing in my life. My wife and I work with kids all over Europe as part of an organization. So their parents are here working with this organization, and so they're Americans or Canadians, and now they're like here in Europe, and there's culture shock and there's adjustment. There's like all this stuff. So my wife and I are kind of like teen counselors for that organization. And that's like a whole other ball game. But basically we specialize in helping kids sort out their normal world, but experiencing it in a culture that's not their parents' culture. So there's that. So I'm doing that. And then I've got 2 daughters, and, you know, I'm married and I'm trying to have friends. And so there's like all of these things. And then there's the side project. So, yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you then, how do you manage all of this?
Yeah.
This is a question that I often get asked, and you have way more going on than me, I feel like. And so what do you do? Like, how do you we talked before and we mentioned work-life balance, and you said that you don't like that term, but it is something you're dealing with. So I'd like to first know why you don't like that term. And secondly, what are your advices there and how you're coping?
So work-life balance, the problem that comes in with, at least that I've seen comes in with the term work-life balance, is it feels like there's these huge opposing forces in your life that you have to suddenly be like, okay, which one is going to reign supreme in this moment? And I don't like looking at it that way. What I prefer to do is say, what are the most important things in my life? What are like the top tier? And for me, that is my family, right? So it's my faith and it's my family. So those are top tier. Those are like, if everything else goes away, those are what I have. And so that's the most important thing. So time with my wife, that's the most important thing. Time with, I mean, I say the most important thing, but that's important, right? Then there's, you know, things that are non-negotiable. Like, for example, I wake up in the morning and I got to get my girls ready for the day, and maybe there's breakfast and, going on daddy dates and things like that, to like, I have a responsibility to these girls to raise them in this crazy world. So that's a big deal, right? So so when I look at that, that's not work against life. This is life, and work is a part of this thing. Work is part of what fuels what I do. So, and I know for the most part, when people talk about work-life balance, they're talking more about like time prioritization. And for me, that always comes down to starting at the top and saying, what are the most important things? What are the non-negotiables? And what boundaries do I need to have around that? So for example, I have work hours. I don't work by the hour, but I have work hours, and I work during the week. And sometimes I might work on the weekends if I want to. It's not required. But I set these things and say, after 6, with the like one exception, on Monday we have team calls. After 6, I'm not available. So if the world breaks, fix it tomorrow. Because that's time that I want to have protected with my family. So, and then on the same side, I go, okay, my work hours, let's say, are from noon to 5 or 11 to 5. Then I create boundaries around that. And I say, this is the time that I have set aside to be what I do for work. And now I know that a lot of people's work situations are different, and there's a lot of, I want to say, subjectivity there. But if the idea of work-life balance is leading to getting stressed every time you think about it, then it's not actually an issue of work-life balance. It's about not really being sure what's the most important thing, and making sure that your health, your personal health in that department, is taken care of first. So I could have a great work life, but if my life, like my family life, is unhealthy, then everything else is going to be unhealthy. So when you take it at the kind of the top tier and you say, these are the most important things, I'm going to work and make that healthy, then everything else underneath it, whether it's work, whether it's client work or side projects, all of that stuff kind of falls underneath it. And then at that point, it's just like, I guess, hierarchy. So if there are days that I don't want to work on my side project because I've literally have been up since 4 because the girls were like, hey, it's time to be awake, and did all of that, and then worked, and then did dinner, and then put the girls to bed. And I'm like, you know what? I could work on my side project, but that my health is more important, like my mental health right now. And so ultimately, maybe that's just semantics. Maybe that's people might say work-life balance and thinking of it that way, and so that also might be a reality. But the image that always comes to me is this, like, there's always this real big tension. And I think when you kind of pull aside that, what are the things that are the most important to you, and that's healthy, then that health flows into the work, and it's not a tension anymore. It's something that coexists, and it has a harmony.
I've never heard someone talk about it quite like that before. I really like that. I think I definitely feel like you on some level that I believe the same thing there. For me, it's more that like work is a part of my life, and it's,
right.
It's an important part of my life, just as like other things are. And so I don't like the idea that it's work or life in this balance, and you have to balance between the two because they are so intertwined, which is kind of what you were talking about as well. Totally.
Yeah. And for some people who maybe have
Am I right that last year
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, am I right in last year you created, I remember seeing like a mind map or something of like all the different aspects in your life. Did that kind of help you?
That was insane.
Did that help you prioritize things as you decided like what was most important or what needed to take priority over other things?
Yeah, I'm going to try and pull that up here. I tweeted about it at one point. I just typed in tweeted.com, and that's not even close to the website. But I did tweet about it. I have this, I'm sure other people do this, but like there are a few websites that are all bad, right? But you have that kind of hand claw where you're like, you know how to, it automatically opens up the new tab and then it hits the thing and hits enter, and there's Twitter. Like it's just built in. Oh, it's absolutely the worst. It's literally the worst thing of all time. So what Femke is talking about is, I'm going to look it up here, but I'm going to put it on my main screen, is 2017 for me was just like riddled with stress. It was like a lot of it rooted from the fact that we had moved to Ireland in August of 2016. And so I was dealing with everything from culture shock to being separate from people, to just all of the things that were weighing on me. And there were stuff with Sean West that was going on and stuff in family that was going on. It was just like, it felt like kind of the perfect storm of life. And it really felt like, it felt like I was doing too much. Like I was volunteering at my church. I was doing all the stuff in the organization that I was working with. We were putting on conferences, and I was just like, if you think I said that I was doing a lot just a second ago, that's pared down. Like that's the healthy version of it. And so what I did was I sat down kind of at the peak moment. I actually was, I did an evaluation, and the guy who was doing my wife and I did this evaluation, and they, based on my answers, I had like clinical levels, evidence of clinical levels of stress. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
That must have been really scary to have someone else say that to you, because it's one thing to like feel stressed within yourself, but to have someone else say, hey, this is clinically like, you know, chronic level of stress that you've got right here.
It was, interestingly, it was more relieving.
Okay.
Because it felt good to have somebody validate all of that stuff that I was feeling. And so that was actually like, that was a really important moment for me. So, and actually just shortly thereafter, I've got it. I just had it, and then I didn't have it anymore. So what I did was I opened up my mind mapping app called MindNode, which was phenomenal. And I mind mapped all of the things that I had in my life and like kind of branched it out and all this stuff. Where do I put this? In the Slack or in the YouTube? Oh, I lost you, Charlie. I think you're muted.
My bad. Put it in the YouTube.
Okay. Remove any web addresses and try again.
Oh, okay. Put it in the Slack then.
Nope, it won't let me. All right, so I'll add it there. But basically, it was like it basically started off, and I put it into like categories of my life. So I'll just open it up right here. So it's like you know, things like family, Sean West, church, relationships, self, and then I had like other, and then I just branched out from there. So like in other, and these were all things that I was thinking about like all at the same time. And I literally mean all at the same time. Like it would just be in my head. So like finances, household, email, travel, vlog. And then under those is like budget, multiple sources. Do we have enough? Cleaning, rent, all this stuff, right? And then, you know, under family, I've got the girls and Christiana, and then that all, you know, splits out from there. And then Sean West, I had all, so it just went on and on and on and just exploded out. And I was just like seeing my whole world in this massive spider web was huge for me. And I just said, like, I need to make some really significant changes, establish really hard boundaries, say no more. I needed to stop saying yes. And I needed to like undo commitments. It was a mess, but got to the place where I could stand back and go, okay, feeling good about my life now. I'm feeling good about being able to focus on the right things and give it the right kind of focus that that's healthy and that it deserves, you know?
Yeah, totally. I think it's like doing a stock take on your life.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you need to get rid of until you know what's there, right? And so doing this mind map was like that stock take. I remember when you tweeted this, and I think I even replied and said like, oh, I think I need to do this as well. Confession, I never did. And now talking to you again, I feel even more so that I need to do it. But I think it's a scary thing to do. Almost like I'd rather live in denial of everything, because I don't want to have to say no to like some of these things that I am doing, or, you know, trying to like hold on to. But yeah, I think this is a good lesson for all of us. So last year was a stressful year, but you said something before that this year you have like a theme for the year to try and like counteract that. Do you want to, do you feel comfortable talking to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2017 was like stress and chaos and, you know, and then, I mean, I didn't even mention that our girls were going through all their transition and stuff, and they're, you know, 1 and 3. So that
formative growing years.
Yeah, it's great. I can't wait until they're teenagers. It's gonna be awesome. Actually, that will be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. But anyways, so it was just like all of this stuff. And at the beginning of the year, Christiana was like, Christiana's my wife. She said, you know, what do you want this year to look like for you? And I didn't have an immediate answer, but I had like this feeling. I was like, I really want 2018 to be a year of peace. And peace, you know, can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But I just was like, the idea of peacefulness and rest and being at peace with where I'm at and where our family is at is something that I'm aiming for this year. Something that I want to be able to, in 2019, look back on this year and go, yeah, that was a year where we really experienced peace. And
are you, a question about that, are you doing anything to work on that together, opposed to just it being a goal for yourself?
Yeah. So my wife and I, so we're Christians, and so we study the Bible, and we studied the concept of, okay, what is peace at like at kind of a spiritual level, and what is it at an emotional level, and what is it at at a physical level, and world peace and things like that. And there's this word, a Jewish word that I love, that applies even if you're not spiritual or you're not religious or anything like that. But it's this word called shalom, and it's just what I love about old languages is that you get a word that can be translated like a million different ways because it's so rich with meaning. And so one of the things that we're doing right now is we're going through just some articles that we're finding on this word shalom, and just kind of looking, okay, what would it look like? So for example, some translations is like holistic wellness, like a feeling of no matter the circumstance, regardless of circumstance, feeling whole. So that kind of thing. So we're kind of like studying through that and talking through that together. And then even on a practical level, we're looking at things like how are we interacting with our girls in this theme? Are we, when Rylan is just being an absolute terror, like, are we yelling? Are we, using certain words that we shouldn't be? So like, not that we do that, but don't call Ireland police on me. But so we look at that and we go, how can we also represent peace to our girls, even in the times where, having children is like, no, it's just not peaceful. Anybody who's got kids would just tell you, like, not a lot of peace there. So then how can we represent that to each other and to our girls? And, how do we make our house, like when people come through the door, like there's so much stuff going on in the world, right? It's just like turmoil and chaos. Like last week, this massive storm came through Western Europe, and people were freaking out. Like there was no bread anywhere. All of the shops were just cleared out of bread. People went crazy, and it became like this Ireland meme. It was amazing. But then like someone took a digger, like a tractor with the arm or whatever, and like tore into a shop, like a grocery store.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and just like people were just going nuts. So they like tore open this whole grocery store and went in. They were looting it and all this. So all that to say, like, there's all of this stuff that's going on in the world where there's just not peace. There's discomfort and there's uncertainty. And so we want to make our house a place where someone can come in and collapse on the couch and just be like, okay, it's okay, And so and some of that stuff is kind of high level, and it might, sound a little, I don't know what the word for it is, but those are just kind of goals that we're aiming for, and things that we're trying to apply practically in how we communicate with each other, and stuff we're learning. So heck, even like tone of voice, my voice has changed a lot over the last couple of years, just in like my tone and how I talk with people. And so just being mindful of those things. I mean, it's all about mindfulness, really. Work-life balance, regular work, knowing yourself, doing a mind map, whatever. It's all about being mindful and knowing yourself. And if there's anything that I'm a huge fan of, it's knowing yourself, because when you know yourself, it makes everything else make sense.
Yeah, I love that. How's your voice changed? I feel like that's a really interesting thing to notice.
I used to be a lot louder. Yeah, I used to be a lot louder. Yeah, I was like classic loud American. It's just
is it like you're that guy on the train?
Yeah, I was that guy. And I still do every now and again, but I also talk slower.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I honestly, I think podcasting actually did that to me. because you know, my co-host Kyle and I, we did a couple of dark episodes before we started doing them live, and I would be listening back and I'm just like, oh my gosh, Cory, shut up. Oh, you're talking too fast. You're the worst, you know? And so, so part of that I think was from the podcast, but, I used to talk really loud. I used to talk really fast, and you know what? I don't think I'm not in as much of a rush anymore to get through my sentences. I think in the past I was like, I need to make sure I say everything so that everyone knows what I have to say. But it's like, you know what? Like, it's that classic Lord of the Rings line, you know? It's now I can't even remember it.
Oh, no.
Come on.
Treebeard says it. He goes, we don't say, he's talking about the Ents, and they talk really, really slow. And it's like, we don't say anything unless it's worth taking a long time to say. And he says it over the course of like 30 seconds or something. But basically it's that idea of, you know, it's fine to speak a little bit slower. Make sure, because I always talk, see, even like that, I always talk in front of my mind. So my mind is always catching up with my mouth. And so I'm trying to practice on allowing for pauses, allowing for slow talking, and being okay with the variety. Like, I can talk really fast. It's fine. But
vlogging has probably helped you be more mindful of that too, because it definitely helped for me. I don't say or like as much anymore, because I got sick of editing it out of
You're
the
better on the podcast too.
There we go. Yeah, Fem would know because she's the one who edits.
At the beginning, I had to cut out a lot of ums and ahs and like and you knows, but you're pretty good now. I don't have to cut that much out.
I still say like far too much. That's my least favorite part about the way I talk. But hey, work it.
Like, you know, like
also, I think also we often underestimate the importance of listening too, which I think is equally important as talking, if not maybe more important. But that's something that I've been trying to build my, I guess, conversational habits, is to be better at listening. And listening is not just not talking, it's actually like processing what the person is saying and like understanding what they're saying rather than just like being polite and letting them speak. But it can be really hard, especially like if you've got something that you really want to say and it's on the tip of your tongue. You know, listening is definitely something that I think comes with practice.
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear how you think how this year of peace is translating into your side projects, and you know, what have you said no to and stopped doing in order to be more peaceful this year? Or is it a change in the way you're approaching your work?
I don't stress out as much as I probably should.
That's a good thing, right?
Like, in all honesty, Vlogology was supposed to launch in early January, and it's now early March. And I went and ended up changing the text on the website to say something like early 2018. Like, class, everyone's done that, right? Where it's like coming, you know, in December of this year, and then it's January, and you're like, coming this next year.
Said that we have our websites launched, our beginning MVP of our website by the end of February. Fem's launched, mine didn't. And unfortunately, that was said on a podcast, so I can't go back and just change the text and tell people. Yeah, right. Like, oh, early 2018 instead.
You just have to delete the source MP3 and re-upload. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not deleting it. It's there forever.
Yeah, there forever. But
it's good accountability.
I think that I'm more about giving myself a break this year, and I've loved this idea of the year of peace. It's not something I thought of, but I'm definitely trying to do less and just go a bit easier, because these are side projects, and at the end of the day, I'm the one who, you know, is accountable to them. It's not like I've got a team of people. So I'm okay with my website being late, because I'm perfectly okay with all of the things that I spent my time doing instead. It's not like I feel that I wasted it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that it's funny. I think we sometimes elevate side projects to this level of, even to the point of like, if I do this right, I can quit my job. You know, all I have to do is have a monthly subscription of $1,000 a month for this, you know, or whatever. Like we go to that point, you know, and we elevate those things where instead of looking at what's the purpose of a side project? Sure, it's to get something done, but it's also to learn, you know, it's to gain skills. It's to, I mean, right now I'm like, it's not really a side project, but just something that I'm doing is I want to improve in development. And so for the last 2 weeks, I've been studying database architecture, yawn, right? But it's fascinating. Like it's fascinating, right? But it's not, there's no like, I'm taking the pressure off. Like this is just something that I'm using to better myself. And maybe maybe part of it's like, I don't want to say maturity, but maybe it's just like the older that I get, the more that I'm like, it's fine for things to take, like, it doesn't need to happen right away. I'm moving outside of the microwave mindset that I used to be in, and being like, you know what, if I need to put in a little bit of extra time, that's fine. The problem comes in when I give myself too much grace and it becomes procrastination.
Right.
And I do really, really well with set deadlines that have set tasks that have, you know, a means by which to do it. The problem that I've run into with Vlogology is like, ironically, there aren't any videos right now on Vlogology. You go there right now, there's no video. Like what? On a vlogging website, what is this? Okay, and it would literally, it's so easy, and I'll just do this tomorrow. And it's like, I want it to be raw because that's the point. The point of it is not to have something that's super, super perfect, because people are going to look and they're going to go, oh my gosh, look, it's all slow-mo and there's the drone shots and there's got to be this epic story. And like, no, I want someone to literally pull out their phone, stick it in front of their face and do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that, right?
So you got to set the example.
I'm eating a lot of I'm taking a lot of my own medicine here. So, but so I look at that and I go, oh my gosh. So if I do a video for every single one, all of the editing time, and then it's like, well, I have to write all the content. So I started too big, and didn't give myself enough deadlines per thing. So I'm kind of rethinking some of that, of like, well, maybe I'll release the first 2 sections, which have a lot of great content. And then next month, release the next section, get people coming back. It's free. Yeah. Like that's another thing is I'm like, it's a free thing. I'm not trying to like make all of the money or, you know, I've got 1 million subscribers who I said, hey, you know, this is going to be the thing. So I feel like that's a different kind of balance than work-life balance. It's like the give yourself grace versus procrastination balance, you know? Yes. And I think you know, when it's procrastination, I think everyone just knows that. But for a side project, like, give yourself a break. It's not a, you know, I like to tell people, I was telling someone this recently. I was like, your greatest dreams are not worth the expense of your health. You know, like if you have all these amazing dreams and like you are so stressed out trying to work on all those things and you physically can't move because your heart's palpitating because you have so much stress trying to do all this big stuff that's on the side even, it's not worth it. You need to make a change. There's something that needs to change there. And I'm all about like health, number one, because if you don't have your health, you haven't got anything.
Yeah, that's definitely a lesson that I've learned the hard way over the past year or so. That like definitely swung too far in the wrong direction there. And yeah, what you were saying about knowing if it's procrastination, I definitely agree with that. I think there's that little voice in your head that when you're like, no, I deserve a break, that goes, do you?
Do you though?
I mean, that's when you know it's time to actually get some work done. But
isn't it funny how we always know when we're procrastinating, right? Like always a conscious thing, and you know, but you don't really do anything about it, so you keep going. It's kind of interesting.
The best one is then it's become now this, I don't want to say like a badge, but now we call it procrasti-working. And now that's like, we've kind of redeemed it a little bit because you're kind of doing stuff towards it, but it's procrasti-working. No, you're procrastinating. Stop it.
Or multitasking. I used to be a big believer in multitasking, and I used to think I was really good at that. Now I know that if you just focus hard on one single task, you get it done in a much shorter amount of time.
I'm sure I could get this thing done if I literally just focused on it, you know, for 2 weeks. I could be done. But then there's also the time aspect. Like I usually only have time to work on it, you know, total, maybe an hour and a half or whatever.
Exactly.
In my current schedule, but I've been waking up earlier because if you don't have the time, take the time. So I've been waking up at like somewhere between 4 and 5. Ooh. And part of that's to do a side project, and part of that's just because then I have 2.5 hours sans children. That's just it's glorious.
Productive time. We have some questions from some of our community members that I'd love to ask you if you're keen. Diana asked,
I am keen
for advice on getting someone to notice you, which is, I'm assuming, eventually going to be a part of vlogology, you know, to be like the attracting the audience type of things you'll go into. She said that for me and many others, I would love great design agencies to notice me, and maybe you would have some advice. Why is it important to be out there? Is blogging enough, or would you say you need to have some sort of vlog or YouTube channel in order to be noticed? What do you think about that, about getting attention, getting noticed?
I mean, that's a really big question. That's a really good question. And the first part of that is overcoming the mindset of everybody else is doing this already. And because I think that's what holds people back from the whole like getting attention sort of a situation. So any answer is going to be combated with, but there's so many of those already. So it's like, well, if you wanted to start a YouTube channel, but there's so many YouTube channels. Or what if you started a blog and started teaching what you know, or, you know, keeping track of, you know, what you're working on. Wow, I keep hitting this. There's so many of those, right? Like, go to a library and see how many books there are. Like, it's not stopping people from writing books. Like,
totally.
So the first part of that is getting past that initial mindset of, which ends up being an excuse, really, if we really kind of break it down, of everyone else is already doing this. Sure, but you're not. I think people, the biggest mental barrier there is no one gives themselves enough credit to think that their story matters and their voice in this world matters. And moving past that and saying, you know what, I have something to offer because no one else has lived my life. No one else has seen the things that I've seen and experienced what I've experienced. And so there's that. And the second part of it is, I mean, there are so many different ways, right? Like anything from, you know, if you wanted to make a YouTube channel and do videos on, let's say if you're a designer, you want to make design videos, or you want to write a blog, or maybe you start an Instagram account and that's how you do it. Or you have your own website, or you write for someone else. The medium doesn't actually matter as much. The thing that matters is actually starting and keeping up with it. I didn't know, but apparently LinkedIn is a really big thing. Still, I had no idea.
Why?
But people, no. Yes, exactly. But it is.
Yeah.
And people are, thought I heard the door open. People are using this. Companies are using LinkedIn for blogging, for building communities, all this stuff. Yeah. And I'm just like, I had no clue. But people are doing that. So I use that as an example because the medium itself doesn't matter as long as there's actually action. You know, people are using platforms like Medium. People are using, they're using YouTube or Vimeo. Like there's so many different ways. The difference between you and someone who's already doing that is they started. That's the only difference. I mean, you have your voice, you've got your experience, and there are many things that you have to say that people can notice. And so that's kind of like the first section of it.
Yeah.
I would say the second section of that is, it also depends on who you're trying to get to notice you. Like what is the goal there? If you're trying to get hired by a design agency, which I've never tried to get hired by, but I know a lot of business owners and I know a lot of people who run design agencies, and many of them don't care about like your fancy CV that looks really, really cool and it has all the, like, they want to see your work.
Yeah.
They want to see you know what you're talking about. They want to see that you're a team player. They want to see that you have quality things to say or to offer. So in that case, that's maybe one audience that you might be trying to build. The other is like maybe you're trying to build up a course or a membership or something like that, and you are aiming for a specific target audience to be part of that. Well, then you look at it and go, okay, well, what do I have? Like, what's the crossroad between what do they need to know and what do I know? And you hit that crossroad and you can say, like, all of these people, what do they need to know? What do I know? You add that together and all of a sudden people are like, oh, this is super interesting. And they can start to learn from you. I mean, heck, I thought email was dead. Email's not dead. Email's great. Email's the best. Everyone's got an email. Not everybody has a Medium account. So like building a newsletter list, learning the methods of what it takes to have an interesting and compelling lead magnet, producing regular content that actually helps people. At Vlogology, my first email, I have an email sequence that I just create in ConvertKit, which ConvertKit's great. And I don't send out broadcasts. I just add emails to the sequence. So somebody who joins today is going to get 1, 2, and 3, while someone else might be getting like 7, 8, 9. And so on my first email, I have like a 75% open rate. On my second email, which is where I ask a question about, I ask a question to people and I say, what's keeping you from vlogging? And the open rate on that is almost 85%. And
that's amazing.
And the response rate is about 35%, which is really, really high for things. And that's because I've niched down. Niche is right?
Yeah, that's what we say anyway.
niche, yeah. Niche. All the French people are gonna get angry. And so I've niched it down, and I know who. Keep hitting this thing. It's the worst. It's so embarrassing.
It's because you're getting excited about all these people.
I use my hands. This is another thing that I've learned about myself since moving to Ireland. Not a lot of people use their hands like this here.
Maybe not like this.
It's just a little bit.
Can I follow on from a question that explains what Dana's asked? So you've got a YouTube channel that you've reached like 1.3 thousand subscribers on. That's a number that many people would love to hit. And I think it's not celebrated enough in YouTube these days. I met someone at a conference last week who said they started a YouTube channel and after 6 months, they only had 7,000 subscribers. And so they quit. And I was like, excuse me?
That's unreal. That's unreal. That's a really good number.
Wow. Yeah. Just don't understand that at all. And I think that reaching 1,000 people who have wanted to click that subscribe button is incredible. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of people want to hit it. What do you attribute your growth to? Like, what do you think has worked? Is it just, I don't know. What do you think if you think back on how you grew that?
Well, there's I think three. So I think there's 3 things. The first thing is that I show up every single week, rain or shine.
Consistency.
So the first 77 I did daily, first 77 vlogs. So I woke up in the morning, it's the worst, did all the things, got to the end of the day, edited it, shipped it out. And then after the 77th one, I started doing weekly. And this last week, I think was 161, episode 161. And so next month I'll have been vlogging for 2 years. And to be honest, like 1,300 people, it's like 13, 133 or 134.
It is 1346 according to your page right now.
1346. That's more than there was yesterday. That's amazing. So a lot of that, and that blows my mind. And a lot of people might look at 1,000 and go, that's crazy. I'm like, that's 1,300 individual people.
Exactly.
That blows my mind. You know, the first 100 episodes would get like 20 views, if that. And they were like my mom, you know? And, but I kept showing up. And then I started to look at things like, okay, so there's a lot of people who are following me, but there are also things I want to talk about. And so I did my first 20,000 view video was a 45-minute video. Okay. So if people are like, oh, the time frame and stuff, 45-minute Q&A that I did with my wife on moving to Ireland. And And since that, what's past it is I made a video about switching from the Apple Watch to a regular analog watch. And then the other one was on living in Ireland as an American. And so you might notice that there's a couple of things there. And I started to realize, I went to my YouTube analytics and I started to see like how people were finding me. And it was like, I'm not saying it has had anything to do with the election in 2016, but a lot of it was like how to move to Ireland, living in Ireland as an American. Like those were the search results that were coming up that were leading to my channel. And so I took advantage of that. And I said, okay, I have things that I want to say about that people are searching for, and I can help that. So it was, again, that crossroads. What are people looking for, and how can I help? And so I would say it was consistency, and then it was relevancy. Like this last Sunday, I posted a vlog, and it was about the big storm that came through this last week. And it already has more views than the weeks prior, because that's what it's relevant for people right now. And that's not always, I mean, some vlogs are like, this is super boring. And like it ended with a shot of me in my bed saying, this is boring, you know? But that's more of an exercise in consistency, and
your true fans will want to watch it.
And people will email me if I don't release on Sunday, and they'll be like, hey, when's the video coming out? Like I've become part of their week, because they know Sunday is vlog day.
Yeah.
And so I think a huge part of that has been consistency. It's been engagement. I've been talking with people, and then just a few one-off videos that raise interest for what I do. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is has been the consistency, and then the improvement in quality as you go. Like I think a lot of people want to start with the quality. They look and they go, I want to build a web app. Let me go find the coolest apps ever. Instead of being like, why don't you just build what you have and then improve on it?
Yeah.
And take your current skill that can iterate over time, instead of being like, I will work on this for 4 years to get to where I want to be, but then you haven't actually shipped anything, you know?
Yeah. On the topic of vlogging, Laura asked as well, how has vlogging helped you in your career, or what are some of the benefits that it's had for you?
Oh man. It's you know what's interesting about it? The biggest thing that has helped me is being more situationally aware, which is an interesting aspect of it. Because I'm more like, my brain has now been trained to be like, sounds super crass, but like looking for shots, you know, like I'm looking for things to add to the vlog, or I'm looking for things that I can, you know, capture or whatever. But the coolest part of that.
Do you feel more aware of your surroundings?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Out and about. And it's made me more observant of my surroundings. And it's also made me more like appreciative when those moments are just for me. You know, there are times where I just won't bring my camera because I want to make sure that this is my moment, you know? And so it's definitely made me think a lot about like what's around me and all of that. But I would say the biggest thing that it's done for me is, because I have a weekly commitment, it forces creativity, and it gives me an excuse every single week to make something. And so, I mean, I've shipped videos that I just want to go and mark them as unlisted, you know, and like, no one should see this. It's the worst. And people will comment on the video and go, this really moved me. Thank you so much for uploading this. And I'm like, it was the worst. What are you talking about?
Check out this one over here.
You didn't even watch it. Like, it had no slow-mo. I didn't grade it very well. Like, there was no story. It was me literally lying on the floor saying, there's no story. You know, like,
it sounds like you're describing every one of my vlogs, Cory. There's never slow-mo. There's never color grading.
Yeah. But the difference is between before having made it and then having made it is I made something.
Exactly.
And so it keeps creativity is a muscle, and the more you flex it, the more you work it out, the stronger that it gets. And so giving myself the opportunity every single week and committing to something, both, you know, to myself and publicly, forces me to be creative on a regular basis, and also gets me in the habit of shipping. Like, people with side projects do not ship enough. Like the more you ship, the easier it gets to ship. That's just the truth of it. Like anything else, the more you lift weights, the easier it gets to lift weights. It's still hard, but you've built up the muscle memory and you've built up that muscle of shipping and creativity. And now it's just become part of my life. So every week, my wife knows, like, Sunday is vlog editing day. And then if it's like a really long day, then I'll edit it really early on Monday morning and say it's still Sunday in Hawaii. And so I've kind of like, it's fine. But really looking at it as, this is something that I use now to be creative, then helps me in my career, because my creativity muscle isn't weak. It's like, I'm thinking about things from doing vlogging or from, writing stuff out, as I'm doing other work that might be slightly boring, but it's, it just becomes part of it, and I think, and also with the career stuff is, because I really enjoy vlogging, it gives me something fun and creative to do on the days where I'm like, I'm literally just kind of doing the work today.
Yeah.
Today is just a work day. It's not I really love the work day. It's just a work day. And so if you have too many of the it's just a work day days, you burn out. And so giving yourself the opportunity to make something and be creative about it and have fun with it, it gives a good spread to that.
Cory, I freaking love that, especially your creativity as a muscle statement. We've had Isa in the chat has quoted that and had a wow moment with it. So thank you for sharing that. As we say around here at Design Life, this seems like a good note to end on. Yeah. Have you got any last words of wisdom that you want to share with our community? I mean, I feel like you just dropped a million in the last 2 minutes of things you said.
I've talked too much. No,
you've got the perfectly right amount. You've shared a lot of valuable things.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
You know what? I think that I was actually thinking about this, kind of preparing for, mentally preparing, what are we gonna talk about? What are they gonna ask me about? And then I started to think about, okay, what are kind of the issues that a lot of designers and people in the design industry kind of wrestle with? And then I asked you guys, and your response was on a couple of those things, like imposter syndrome and procrastination and confidence. And I started thinking about that, and I think all of those are symptoms of two other aspects of life that I highly recommend giving good evaluation to. And one of them, within that, is consistent self-evaluation, and not even just of hey, how's my work doing, but how's my health? Am I dreading work? Am I dreading my day? Am I excited about it? Am I just kind of in this season that I accept is fine and it's just whatever? Am I incredibly stressed? Giving yourself, baking that into your life, whether on a monthly, bi-monthly, I don't know what the terms, quarterly, just having a good sit down with yourself and going, where am I at? Because that leads into the second thing, which is health. I think too often we sacrifice our health for the things that we're working on or trying to accomplish, and it takes away from the joy of accomplishing that thing and of working at that thing. And so self-evaluate, ask yourself where you're at, be honest with yourself, get someone really close to you who can be honest with you when you can't be, and give them that permission to speak into your life that way. It's hard to kind of do that, but it's so worth it, because when you're healthy, from a personal, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever, holistic level, when you're healthy that way, that overflows into your work, that overflows into your side projects, into your business, into your day job. All of that stuff benefits from personal health. So self-evaluate, make sure you're healthy, set up boundaries, whatever you need, and get an outsider's perspective, because you're too close to yourself. So I think that would be my final words.
It's a great piece of advice to end on. I've actually just made a note in my bullet journal as you were talking to do this as a thing at the start of the month to have a check-in. I think there we go. Bullet journal pals. Love that. Nice. Aaron just asked one quick question before we sign off. He said, when are you coming back to the States to hang out?
Oh gosh. It would be great this year. I don't know about Texas though, Aaron.
Well, he did say the States in general, so he didn't specify. So maybe
the States is fine.
Any of the states.
I'm going to Germany in a couple of weeks, but that's not the States. So
that's pretty exciting, though.
It'll be all right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Cory.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
This has been amazing. You've shared so much valuable advice. I know this is going to be something that the rest of our community who weren't able to join live are going to be able to watch back. And I'm sure we're all going to have a great discussion about a lot of the things that you talked about in Slack. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you.
I love what you guys are doing with Design Life, and I think it's super beneficial, and I think it's helping a lot of people. So be proud of what you've built.
Thanks, Cory.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. See you in the Slack.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.